Strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. A quote from Art of War by Sun Tzu, which perfectly represents Osu in the r/place wars. Because truly, how did one niche community work in unison to win against Tyler 1 and XQC fans? Well, it's quite simple.
Fragile than one Osu users and weebs, and you guys are just fragile.
Well, we're fragile as f, but for some reason you still can't take us out. What's up with that?
In 2017, as an April Fool's bit, a subreddit by the name of r/place would open its gates. The concept was quite simple. Every 5 minutes, a user could place a colored pixel on the 1000 by 1000 canvas. So in total, there were 1,000,000 pixels to be filled. One single person wouldn't really be able to make anything coherent. However, many users quickly picked up the idea that if they worked as a team, they would be able to create something. Instantly, countries and larger subreddit communities formed together to make pieces to represent themselves. This same idea was thought of by some Osu community members. They would first make this small but meaningful logo. It's a simple logo, so even a small one could be recognized upon close inspection. But since there was no planning for any of these, there were multiple ones on the canvas with varying sizes within the first couple of hours. For instance, this logo took roughly 6 hours to complete. Obviously, it's not the best. It's not even a circle. But then a stroke of genius came to an Osu user, stating, instead of making multiple small Osu logos on r/place, how about we make a giant one so people will see? This one seemingly innocent post would be the stepping stone for people dunking on the Osu community and their efforts. But at the time, this was something that the community could cling towards. A Discord server for better management of this project was also made, and roughly 100 members would join in the beginning. Even though other communities worked together, there were really none that had this kind of aspiration and planning so early on. A template for the logo was also made so that there would be clear direction of what to make and where to make. The dimensions of the logo were quite ambiguous, especially considering the size of the team that would come to fruition to make such a thing possible. Never mind the fact that there were these voids that all they wanted to do was destroy everything and anything that was on the canvas. Slowly but surely, the Osu logo would commence, and not too long afterwards, it would be identifiable on the massive canvas. Although Osu was one of the nichest communities that had formed something on the canvas, it had by far one of the biggest pieces of art there. And this was a problem to some Reddit users. To say that this didn't fit well with most people would be a great misunderstanding. In hindsight, I don't get what was stopping these backseat haters from forming their own communities to make their own logo. But I guess it's because it's easier to hate on something rather than creating something yourself. Most arguments against the Osu logo boil down to, "Nah, too big fam. Nobody cares, why should it be that big? You don't deserve that size." I think this comment perfectly dismantles all arguments against the Osu logo's existence. Instead of beefing and moaning, how about trying to overthrow it? They put in the effort needed to not only create it, but defend it. That is very true. Most people complaining would not be able to come anywhere close to making something like that on the r/place canvas. But since the average Redditor spends all day indoors, they do become miserable, and it reflects in these kinds of situations. And unfortunately, the Osu community was target of this jealousy and hatred. But then, the biggest threat to the Osu logo came: Greek God X and Tyler 1. A sweaty and unwashed Greek man.
No, it's paint.
And the calmest League of Legends player.
Shut the f up in the background!
These two were really keen on dismantling the Osu logo, and with their combined influence and active viewer base, Osu logo stood little chance in defending themselves. The logo would quickly dissipate as the black void would swallow it whole. And to further show their spite and lack of respect for anything that takes some kind of effort, Tyler1 and his community decided to raid the r/OsuPlays Discord. Wow, real mature guys. Although the Osu logo was now more destroyed than solid, the Osu community would not stop at that. To get some leeway and have an easier time rebuilding the logo, the Osu community would form alliances with the Toho community. But even then, this most likely would not be enough. Even though the Osu community was very well coordinated, there were other communities like the Rick and Morty community who wanted that spot for themselves. Though I think they were too busy calling everyone around themselves inferior human beings to do something about the situation. The Osu logo would begin to stabilize, but it wasn't clear if they could get through another attack. Tyler1 and his spiteful community could strike any time again, and even the best coordination would not be able to stop the sheer amount of oppositions that the Osu logo had. However, there was one community that was ready to do what was right, to unite with Osu and create a defense strong enough to defend against not just Tyler1 fans, but also every other community on r/Place. And that was the Overwatch community. Yes, even though this would be a shot in the leg nowadays, back in 2017, this was massive. An opposition turned ally, and that being one of the biggest gaming communities of that era was like winning the lottery for the r/OsuPlays people. The OsuPlays Discord had risen in member count and was in a much better place to defend themselves. And when Tyler1 began streaming, he sent his audience to battle against the now much bigger Osu force.
Alright boys, make it black. Make it black, boys.
He would distract himself for the moment, and because of that, he had no idea that his attack was unsuccessful. It did deal some damage, but it was like when you pump shotgun someone in Fortnite in the head and you dealt only 8 damage. Can I...
Would you see what?
Very loud, seemingly strong, but it was all bark and no bite. By the following day, the Osu logo was stronger than ever. There were almost no traces of any attacks from the previous night. And to seek revenge against Tyler1, the Osu community decided to raid his Discord server. Moral of the story: big things come in small packages. The Osu logo was one of the most contested objects on the canvas. Everyone wanted to bring it down. I also like this representation of the logo in Minecraft. It actually was the most attacked thing on there. But in the end, it didn't matter if it was the League of Legends headphone dent guy attacking or literally the entire r/Place. The sheer dedication, coordination, and partnerships with other communities allowed the Osu folks to reign supreme. The r/Place April Fool's bit had settled for almost 5 years, and the creator of it realized that it was time for round 2. The news spread like wildfire. It was like the second coming of Christ, and it most certainly got to the Osu community very quickly. Everything to make the Osu logo 2.0 possible was pre-planned before the event even took place. The Osu logo builder Discord server had grown tremendously, and the community was more than ready to assert dominance yet again. The template was made, a place on the canvas was created, the dead center of the logo being 727 by 727.
Stop posting about 727!
Not gonna lie, that's actually kinda clever. Everyone was ready to commence Operation OsuPlays 2.0, and when the gates opened, a tsunami flew in. This was honestly so impressive. The Osu logo being fully formed while the only other recognizable thing being the Ukraine flag was a sight to behold. It was like a prophecy, as if the Osu logo was meant to be there. The word of the operation would be further spread around the community. The popularity was especially pushed by the biggest content creator, BTMC, who live streamed every living and breathing minute of the event. Not to mention that this coordination was masterfully called out by even F-Man. people chimed into the Discord server and took orders from this guy. The coordination was so good that the Osu community was accused of botting. I seriously doubt that there was any other community with such proper coordination as Osu. While others had the size advantage, what Osu had was masterful coordination. It's like you have a superbly skilled military veteran with a 9mm and a guy who can't lift the RPG that he has. It's kind of obvious who'll be better, and this coordination would really come in hand later down the line. Especially considering that most people still have negative associations of the Osu community from the previous r/place event. Many fans of r/place came out and instantly proposed ideas on how to take down the Osu logo. This same sentiment was shared by the streamer who's half height of his door.
It's not a small person, it's a big house.
Shoes. That's a small.
big.
Instead of pouring his rage on r/shortkings, he sent out the first black void wave towards the Osu logo.
For the
Holy shit. Chat, don't give up!
That is amazing. Now is the time. Now is the
However, once again, because the Osu community had fantastic leads, they were able to sustain parts of the logo and slowly but surely rebuild it.
And we're gonna wait.
Chat,
in about
save your
15
pixels!
seconds.
Save your pixels right now! Stop!
3, 2, 1, now.
Place it! Revive the exclamation point! Oh my god, it's coming back! It's coming back!
Holy
Yes!
shit, yes!
Keep going! Keep
All
going!
right,
Yes!
next round. If you. There it is. Focus on subreddit title. The Osu Place
my
subreddit
God.
name is coming back
Yes.
now, which is absolutely
Yes, chat!
fantastic.
It's working!
As retaliation, Even F-Man sent the Osu community to destroy Miskiff's frog icon by turning it pink.
For it. Turn the eyes pink.
Oh my god!
Yes, and the crown. Yeah, turn everything. Turn it all
Let's
pink.
go!
To further improve the coordination of the Osu logo building, a Chrome extension was made which gave a preview of the color of the pixel for the Osu logo. And in similar fashion to the previous r/place event, the Osu community formed alliances with many other communities to form an even stronger defense. During the second day of r/place, the 1000 by 1000 canvas was doubled in size. On top of that, new colors were added as well, which made the Osu logo a bit more detailed. And because the canvas was expanded, the Osu community thought of yet another brilliant idea, and that was to make the creator of the game as well. But this was just calm before the storm. Because very soon after, BTMC was invited to a Discord group call with some creators you might recognize. The door guy Miskiff, the pee poo poo slop guy Moist Critical, the current most subscribed streamer on Twitch, Iron Mouse, and the guy who'll make more money in one breath than this entire video. But yeah, this call resulted in one of the best moments from this event.
Because there's nothing more fragile than one Osu users and weebs, and you guys are just fragile. I don't know
Well,
what to
we're
tell you.
fragile as f, but for some reason you still can't take us out. What's up with that?
This was a massive threat because these people's viewers would do anything their beloved streamer would tell them, and that is exactly what happened. A purple void was sent towards the Osu logo by XQC.
Consume. Everybody, push in, break the guys, order the battle, attack the outlines, burn it, consume. They want to battle, they want to. Hey, yo, torch of you, Andy. Hey, nice dots you got on my battle.
And just like that, the Osu logo was dismembered. XQC would also make his logo on top of Peppy to further show his distaste towards the Osu community. However, the funny thing is, while XQC was distracted with the creation of his icon, the Osu logo was fully restored. This showcased just how persistent and coordinated the Osu community and its allies were. And luckily, the Osu logo was left unscathed afterwards. This was also helped by the fact that on day 3, the canvas was further expanded, making it 4 times the original size. This allowed for more Osu references to be put onto the canvas, with one of them being just a regular Osu hit circle, and the other one, when you fucking see it! When you fucking see it! I love Ariu. And once again, with more colors added, the Osu logo became even more detailed and more, well, beautiful. And there was yet another rendition of the Osu logo, which was in the Windows taskbar. So by now, a total of 5 Osu references were cemented on the r/place 2022 canvas. And moving on to day 4, Osu would still be left alone. r/place 2022 was nearing its end, and an end time at first was disclosed, but because many communities were griefing, it became unknown to anyone besides the creator. Eventually though, all colors that you could choose from became white. And obviously the first piece on the canvas that was removed was the Osu logo. The attack was in large part directed by a French streamer, and there were many people who, because of this, further accused Osu of using bots. And there were fair arguments for this, but I believe it more boiled down to the fact that there were just so many people who wanted the Osu logo gone. And now that it was possible and that Osu wouldn't be able to defend themselves, well, they used this opportunity. But you have to remember how dedicated to keeping the Osu logo alive the community truly was. The Osu logo builder was active throughout the entire event, and because there were proper callouts made, I think it's kind of obvious why the Osu logo was so undefeatable. And the main organizers of the Osu logo building process were very clear in stating that they do not support the use of any bots. The whole event was also streamed by the biggest Osu streamer, that being BTMC. This allowed for any viewer and any fan of Osu to participate in building and defending the logo, not to mention the many allies Osu formed. There were many anime communities, pixels.space, VTuber communities, and best of all, the goddamn Star Wars community. Yep, you heard it right. There's a reason why the Osu hit circle is in the Star Wars poster. Otherwise it would be gone, yes, but they were allies. The commitment, persistence, and dedication was truly unmatched by any other community. Even the XQC community wasn't able to do anything about the logo in the end. It is funny how one of the biggest streamers was not able to dismantle the Osu logo, even though he has fans that would do literally anything he says. In the end, Osu once again cemented themselves on the canvas, with the main logo, the creator of the game, the when you see it area finger, a hit circle, and the game in a Windows taskbar. Anyone within the Osu community knows why this was possible, and at the same time it's understandable why outsiders would assume that the community used bots. But the fact of the matter is that there are no bots that would be able to replicate the dedication and persistence of the Osu community when united. You see, though, I said it. Keep commenting about it, you're definitely not the billionth person who will say that. Now, if I'm being completely honest, I didn't know there was an r/place event in 2023, let alone that the Osu community participated in it once again. And I think there's a good reason for both of those. For one, the two previous r/place events had a 5-year gap in between them. The time gap really allowed people to build up hype for whenever the event was actually announced. And with this one having only a year gap, the hype was obviously a lot smaller. And this same sentiment was shared, or rather not shared, across the Osu community. But that's not to say that the efforts weren't persistent that year. The Osu logo would be built very quickly once again. Although it wasn't at the same rate as last year, this was still very impressive nonetheless. But you might have also noticed some unique things about this event. There was a massive group of people who wanted to spell out Spez all across the canvas. For those who don't know, Spez is the user account for the current CEO of Reddit. And people don't like him. Very brave statement. As CEO, he made it essentially impossible to use bots, which many subreddits relied on. Not to mention that he was caught editing comments. Obviously, this kind of behavior is beyond childish for someone in the CEO position. Another thing is that there was a very apparent usage of bots in the r/place 2023 event. Although the previous years most likely had some sort of usage of bots, it wasn't nearly as bad as with the 2023 event. Like, look how quickly this Charizard Pokemon card was made. There's absolutely no way that bots were not involved. But what about our beloved Osu community? Well, they stood their grounds very well. And if you're wondering why the logo is purple, well, there just wasn't a pink color for some reason. Maybe it was a slight jab at the Osu community, but we still prevailed. There were really no major attacks on the logo either, and I guess this also explains the lack of hype and traction this operation had in previous years. Every other community simply learned that Osu is not to be messed with. And I guess it is all well and good, but it kind of ruined the essence that the Osu community had in the previous events. Also still had very many and major allies, with one of them being the Toho community once again. And since the Toho community helped the Osu people in previous years, Osu decided to give that help back this year. The plan was to recreate the infamous Bad Apple music video, and the result is simply beautiful. They were beyond successful in recreating the infamous music video. Unfortunately, however, this also meant that there weren't nearly as many Osu references as in the previous renditions, with there being only 3. The first and obvious one was the Osu logo. The second one was the Osu icon in the taskbar, same as the 2 previous years. And the third one being an inside joke from the Osu Place community. To briefly explain it, even F-Man mispronounced the word pixel by saying pickle, and that became a meme. This is like me mispronouncing Scytho as Scytho.
Scytho is currently one of the fastest players.
That thing still haunts me to this day. At one point there was also progress on yet another reference, that being our beloved BTMC, but that was quickly overlapped by the Morocco community. And because the main focus of this event wasn't to unite communities and make great arts, but rather making fun of the CEO of Reddit, this event is severely undocumented. Especially on the Osu side, there are really no documentations on YouTube about this. But at the same time, you also have to remember that the community efforts more aligned with making the Bad Apple animation. And honestly, it was one of the most, if not the most impressive artworks on the canvas, not just that year, but in every single event. Another big issue about this event was it wasn't a competition of which community was most coordinated, but which community had better bots. As I said before, this year had heavy usage of bots, and it was most apparent in the very end. When all the colors you could choose from became white, almost instantly there was a massive block of text spelling out spez all across the canvas. And although there wasn't an understandable meaning behind these actions, if you take a step back, you begin to realize how the usage of bots took away what was so special about r/place, especially in 2017. Back then, it truly was communities battling out for whoever was the most persistent in keeping their artwork alive. And this is why Osu wasn't really attacked anymore. Everybody knew that the community was so persistent they would do anything to keep the logo alive. And even if there were attacks, they were so inconsequential that it really didn't matter that year. Plus, because there was only a year gap between this and the previous year's event, the scarcity was at an all-time minimum. But there is one thing that stood the test of time in all 3 iterations of r/place, and that is that you should not mess with the Osu community. And as I just mentioned, this was very apparent in 2023, with there being, like, some attacks, but there were really no major ones like in 2017 and 2022. But even then, it is still impressive how far the community has come and how strong it became over the years. And I truly think there wasn't any other community as dedicated and as persistent as the Osu community. It is always fascinating when a community as niche as Osu breaks out into the mainstream, whether it be someone like Kukizi setting a game-breaking score, or when a cheater gets outed, or when Osu becomes the largest target of an April Fool's event. These kinds of events always show just how dedicated and passionate the people in the Osu community are. It's something that not many communities get to experience. Although many people are quite divisive in it, when it comes to collaborating and being united for something like the r/place event, the Osu community blossoms like the most outstanding flower in a royal garden. And I think that's beautiful. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for sticking around towards the very end. Consider subscribing if you want more content like this. I hope to see you again in the next one. Peace. My nuts.